There's something about a woman who carries divine grace. You notice it before she even speaks. It's not in the clothes she wears or the title she holds. It's not even in the achievements she has collected. It's in the way she moves through the world. With a calm strength that can't be shaken, a presence that can't be ignored, and a love that leaves no one untouched. You see, divine grace isn't about perfection. It isn't about having it all together. Divine grace is a force that shows up when the world is at its harshest. It's what carries a woman when life could have broken her, but didn't. And once you see it, once you encounter it, you cannot deny it. Today, I want to walk you through 5 unmistakable signs that a woman has this kind of grace. Signs that not only inspire us, but also remind us what's possible when someone's lives aligned with something greater than themselves. The first sign is peace. Real peace, not the absence of problems, but the presence of strength within them. Think about it, the world we live in today is full of noise. Stress, deadlines, arguments, conflict. It's endless. But a woman with divine grace carries a stillness inside her. She can walk into a storm and not be swept away. When you think about the kind of person who truly inspires others, it's rarely the one who has had an easy life. It's almost always the one who has been tested, shaken and pressed, yet somehow walks with a presence that makes everyone else feel calm. That is what it means when we say a woman radiates peace, even in chaos. It is not that her life is without storms, but that she has learned to carry an anchor inside her heart that holds steady no matter how high the waves rise. Chaos is everywhere. It shows up in a doctor's waiting room when the test results are uncertain. It appears in the late night arguments that leave you wondering if the relationship will survive. It hides in the silence after a job rejection or in the long days of bills piling up while solutions feel far away. We have all seen these moments. Most of us know what it feels like to panic, to spiral, to let fear dictate every decision. But then every so often, you meet someone who refuses to be pulled under. She has the same problems, the same storms, and yet her posture is different. She stands grounded. She breathes deeply. She listens before she reacts. Somehow, she carries peace. And when you are around her, you begin to feel it too. This kind of peace doesn't come from pretending everything is fine. It comes from a deeper place. It comes from knowing that storms are temporary, that no night lasts forever, and that nothing is gained by losing yourself in fear. A woman who radiates peace has usually been through enough chaos to know that panic never solved anything. She has felt the pain of disappointment, but she has also seen what happens when you keep going. That experience has shaped her into someone who can stand still even when everything around her is shaking. Think about how powerful that is. Imagine being in a workplace where deadlines are colliding, tempers are flaring, and everyone is rushing in panic. In the middle of it, one woman is calm. She speaks slowly, not because she doesn't care, but because she knows clarity only comes in stillness. People begin to breathe easier because she reminds them of something simple. We can get through this if we don't lose ourselves. That's peace in action. That's grace people can feel without even having to put it into words. Or picture a family facing a medical crisis. Everyone is afraid. The future is uncertain. Some are breaking down in tears. But there she is, the woman who whispers reassurance, who brings comfort not by dismissing the fear, but by creating space for hope to exist beside it. Her peace doesn't deny the reality of pain, but it makes the pain bearable. It allows others to stand up and keep moving when they would have otherwise collapsed. There is also something magnetic about this kind of peace. People are drawn to it, not because it is loud or demanding, but because it offers what every human being longs for: safety. In a world of constant noise, where anxiety spreads faster than good news, a peaceful presence is like oxygen. It makes people want to stay close, to lean in, to trust. But here is the most important part. This peace is not just for her. It is not a private possession. The reason it shines so brightly is because it spills over into every interaction. When a woman has learned to quiet her own storms, she becomes the lighthouse for others. She shows them a different way of being. She shows them that panic is not the only option, that calm is possible even when nothing else makes sense. And so, when we talk about a woman radiating peace in chaos, we are talking about more than composure. We are talking about resilience. We are talking about faith. We are talking about the rare gift of being so rooted in hope that nothing can uproot it. That kind of peace changes rooms, changes relationships, and sometimes even changes lives. The second sign is in her speech. A graceful woman understands the power of words. Words can wound deeply. We've all felt it. An insult that sticks, a careless comment that shapes our confidence. But when a woman carries divine grace, her words build instead of break. She knows how to speak truth, but with compassion. There are moments in life when the right words, spoken at the right time, can change everything. They can turn despair into hope, fear into courage, and pain into healing. We all know the power of words because we've all felt both sides of them. We've been wounded by careless speech that cut deeper than it should have, and we've also been lifted by words that reminded us of who we really are. That is the power a woman carries when her words heal rather than harm. It is not about being soft or avoiding hard truths. Healing words are not empty compliments or polite gestures. They are words chosen with intention, shaped by wisdom, and delivered with love. When a woman speaks in this way, her words become medicine to those who are hurting. They don't simply fill the air, they fill the soul. Think about the times you faced failure or disappointment. Maybe you lost a job, maybe a relationship ended, maybe life just seemed heavier than you could carry. In those moments, someone's words either crushed you further or gave you the strength to keep moving. Healing words sound like a reminder that failure is not final, that pain is not the end of the story, and that you are not defined by the worst thing that has ever happened to you. Those words don't erase the problem, but they give you the courage to face it. I once met a young woman who said that growing up, her mother always told her, "You are enough." Every time she doubted herself, every time she struggled in school, every time she felt out of place, those 3 words became her anchor. They were not magic, but they gave her permission to keep going. Years later, as an adult, she still carried those words with her, and they became the foundation of her confidence. That is the kind of legacy healing words create. They last long after they are spoken. On the other hand, think about how damaging negative words can be. A single insult from a teacher can haunt a child for decades. A thoughtless comment from a parent can echo in someone's mind every time they try to succeed. Words have that kind of staying power. They build or they break. A woman who carries grace knows this instinctively. She chooses to speak in a way that builds, not tears down. She understands that people already fight invisible battles every day, and her voice can either be another weapon against them or a shield that protects them. In the workplace, for example, this looks like encouragement instead of criticism that crushes. A leader can point out mistakes without stripping someone of their dignity. They can call out potential instead of only calling out flaws. That is how growth happens. People don't rise because they are constantly told they are not enough. They rise when someone sees their strength, even when they can't see it themselves. In relationships, healing words look like forgiveness, appreciation, and reminders of love. They look like saying, "I see you, I value you, I'm with you." In friendships, they look like listening deeply and speaking gently. In family, they look like reassurance in moments of fear and belief in moments of doubt. When a woman chooses to speak this way, she becomes a source of light in a world that is too often dark. People come to her not because she has all the answers, but because they feel safe in her presence. Her words become a place of rest, a reminder that they are not alone, and a spark that pushes them forward. The truth is, we underestimate how much power our words hold. Every day, we leave traces of them behind in the hearts of others. Some wounds we will never see, and some healing we will never know we gave. But when a woman decides that her voice will be used to heal rather than harm, she sets off a ripple effect. She strengthens families, she empowers communities, and she changes the future of those who listen. That is why her words cannot be ignored. They are not just sounds in the air. They are seeds planted in souls. Seeds that grow into confidence, resilience, and hope. And that, more than anything else, is the kind of gift the world needs more of. The third sign is forgiveness. Let's be honest. Forgiveness is one of the hardest things a human can do. Betrayal, lies, broken promises. They leave scars. But a woman with divine grace refuses to let bitterness own her heart. She doesn't forgive because it's easy. She forgives because she understands that holding on only poisons her. Forgiveness is one of the hardest things a human being can do, yet it is also one of the most freeing. When someone has wronged us, when trust has been broken, or when betrayal cuts deep, the natural response is to hold on. We replay the offense, we build walls, and we allow bitterness to quietly poison our hearts. But a woman who carries divine grace refuses to let anger be her master. She forgives what others cannot, not because it is easy, but because she understands what happens when she doesn't. There is a quiet strength in forgiveness. It is not weakness, and it is not pretending that the pain never happened. Forgiveness doesn't erase the wound, it transforms it. It takes the sharp edges of pain and turns them into wisdom, compassion, and freedom. A woman who forgives knows she cannot control what others do, but she can control how she responds. She chooses to let go of the chains that anger tries to wrap around her. Think about the people you've met who are still bitter over something that happened years ago. You can see it in the way they speak, in the way they live. They may not even realize it, but the weight of unforgiveness has shaped their whole lives. Now think about those rare individuals who have every reason to hate, yet choose to release it. Their presence feels lighter. Their words carry more hope. Their hearts are free. That is the difference forgiveness makes. I once read about a woman whose daughter was killed by a drunk driver. Most people would have understood if she spent the rest of her life filled with anger. Instead, she chose forgiveness. She not only forgave the man responsible, but later worked with him to speak in schools about the dangers of drinking and driving. Her pain became a platform to save others. That level of forgiveness is not natural. It is something deeper, something that comes from grace that most people cannot explain. And yet, that kind of forgiveness heals more than just one person. It heals communities, it heals futures. Forgiveness also has the power to break cycles. In families, anger is often passed from one generation to the next. A parent who refuses to forgive teaches a child to do the same. But when one person decides the anger stops here, everything changes. That woman becomes a turning point. She teaches her children that love is stronger than hate, that grace is stronger than revenge, and that freedom comes not in holding grudges, but in letting them go. It takes incredible courage to forgive. Sometimes the hardest person to forgive is yourself. Many women carry shame for mistakes they made long ago, mistakes they would never judge others for, but cannot release in themselves. Yet when forgiveness finally comes, it feels like chains falling to the ground. Life feels lighter. The past loses its power. That freedom allows a woman to walk into her future without the weight of yesterday holding her back. When a woman forgives what others cannot, she does something extraordinary. She chooses love over hate, freedom over bondage, peace over war. And the world notices. People lean in because they want to understand how someone can walk away from such heavy pain and still smile. But the answer is not that she has forgotten. It is that she has chosen to live unshackled. That kind of forgiveness cannot be ignored. It inspires others to believe that maybe, just maybe, they can forgive too. And when forgiveness spreads, lives change, relationships heal, and whole communities grow stronger. Forgiveness is not easy, but it is the mark of divine grace. It is the gift that turns wounds into testimonies and pain into power. The fourth sign is humility. Graceful women don't need to prove themselves. They don't walk into a room needing attention or applause. Their worth isn't tied to titles, looks, or wealth. Their confidence comes from within. Humility doesn't mean weakness. It means strength under control. It means knowing who you are so deeply that you don't need to shout it. True strength often hides itself in humility. The world teaches us that to be noticed, we must be louder, more impressive, more dominant than everyone else in the room. Yet the most impactful women are not the ones who demand attention, but the ones who carry themselves with quiet dignity. A woman who walks with humility and not ego doesn't need to announce her worth. Her actions speak louder than her words, and her presence commands respect without ever asking for it. Humility is not weakness. It does not mean shrinking back, avoiding leadership, or pretending you are less than you are. In fact, it takes greater strength to lead with humility than with ego. Ego is fragile. It constantly seeks validation, applause, and recognition. It crumbles when it is criticized, and it fights to be the center of attention. Humility, on the other hand, is unshakable. It is rooted in confidence that does not need to be proven. A humble woman knows who she is, so she does not have to convince anyone else. Think of the leaders throughout history who made the greatest impact. Many of them were not the loudest voices or the flashiest personalities. They were people who served quietly, who listened before they spoke, and who put the needs of others above their own pride. Their humility created trust. Their humility made people want to follow them, not because they were forced to, but because they were inspired to. A woman who walks in humility has that same effect. People are drawn to her because she is real, because she doesn't pretend, because she values others without making them feel small. I once worked with a woman who was leading a large team. She had every reason to boast about her accomplishments, her education, her skills, the results she had delivered. Yet, instead of pointing the spotlight at herself, she always turned it toward her team. Whenever they succeeded, she gave them credit. Whenever things went wrong, she took responsibility. Her humility built loyalty. People worked harder for her, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. They knew she valued them more than her own ego. Contrast that with people who lead with arrogance. At first, their confidence may be mistaken for strength, but over time, ego isolates. It creates resentment. It drives people away because it demands attention rather than giving it. A woman who walks with humility does the opposite. She creates connection. She reminds us that leadership is not about being above others, but about lifting others up. Humility also shows itself in how a woman treats those who can do nothing for her. Anyone can be kind to someone who can advance their career or boost their image. But humility is revealed in how she treats the waiter, the janitor, the stranger who has no influence over her life. A graceful woman understands that every person has dignity and she treats them accordingly. That small act of humility can make a bigger difference than we realize. For someone who often feels invisible, being treated with respect can restore a sense of worth they had forgotten. Walking with humility also means being teachable. A woman who chooses humility doesn't pretend to know everything. She asks questions. She listens to different perspectives. She admits when she's wrong and is willing to grow. Ego resists correction, but humility embraces it. That is why humble women keep getting better. They are not trapped by the need to always be right. They are free to learn, adapt, and improve. When you meet a woman who carries herself this way, you notice it. She may not demand the spotlight, but the room feels safer because she is in it. Her presence lowers the temperature of conflict. Her voice steadies conversations. Her leadership builds bridges instead of walls. And without ego clouding her vision, she is able to see opportunities, solutions, and people more clearly. The beauty of humility is that it multiplies. When one person leads this way, it gives others permission to do the same. It creates a culture where people value each other, where collaboration thrives, and where true growth happens. That is why humility is not just a personal trait. It is a gift to everyone around her. A woman who walks with humility, not ego, leaves a lasting mark. Not because she demanded recognition, but because she modeled a better way to live and lead. Her legacy is not written in applause, but in the lives she lifted, the dignity she preserved, and the example she left behind. That is a kind of power that never fades. The fifth and last sign is her ability to lift others. A woman with divine grace is like a candle that lights other candles. She doesn't lose her flame by giving. She creates more light around her. There is something extraordinary about a woman who can lift others without losing herself. In a world that often asks women to give endlessly, to sacrifice until they are empty, true grace is found in the balance. It is the ability to pour into others while still standing tall, to support dreams without neglecting your own, to love deeply without forgetting your own worth. This balance is not only rare, it is powerful. Many people confuse service with self-erasure. They believe that to uplift others, they must diminish themselves. But when a woman truly understands her value, she knows that helping others rise does not mean she has to fall. Instead, she becomes like a candle that lights other candles. Her flame does not shrink. When she shares it, it multiplies. Her strength is not drained when she lifts others. It grows stronger because she is rooted in who she is. Think about the people in your life who always seem to bring out the best in others. They celebrate your victories without jealousy. They encourage you in your struggles without making you feel weak. They want you to shine, not because it benefits them, but because they genuinely believe there is enough light for everyone. That is what it looks like when a woman uplifts others. She doesn't compete, she collaborates. She doesn't push others down to climb higher. She builds ladders so more people can rise with her. I remember meeting a woman who was mentoring younger colleagues in her company. She had every right to keep her knowledge to herself and use it to stay ahead. Instead, she shared openly, teaching them not only how to succeed, but how to lead with integrity. Years later, many of those she mentored went on to achieve great things. And they all traced their beginnings back to her guidance. What stood out was not just her generosity, but the fact that she never lost herself in the process. She continued to grow, to pursue her own goals, and to thrive while still lifting others up. That is what makes her influence unforgettable. The danger many women face is losing themselves while giving. They pour into everyone else until their own flame goes out. But uplifting others is not about self-destruction. It is about abundance. A woman of grace knows she cannot give from an empty place. She prioritizes her own growth, her own rest, her own peace, because she understands that the stronger she is, the more she can offer to others. This is not selfishness. This is sustainability. This balance is also what sets her apart from those who help with hidden motives. Some people give only to be noticed. Others uplift in ways that make people dependent on them, so they can feel powerful. But a woman who uplifts without losing herself, gives freely, and empowers people to stand on their own. She doesn't create followers, she creates leaders. She doesn't demand gratitude, she rejoices in their growth. That kind of impact ripples far beyond what she can see. In families, this looks like a mother who sacrifices for her children, but also teaches them independence, so they don't always lean on her. In friendships, it looks like celebrating another woman's success without feeling smaller in comparison. In communities, it looks like investing time and energy to lift others out of hardship while still protecting her own boundaries. The truth is, when a woman uplifts others without losing herself, she models something revolutionary. She shows the world that it is possible to give without breaking, to lead without overshadowing, to love without losing. She becomes an example of what healthy, powerful grace looks like in action. People around her rise not at her expense, but because she has shown them that they can. And the beauty is, she doesn't just change individuals, she changes culture. She proves that success is not a limited resource. She proves that strength can be shared. She proves that when one woman rises, she can bring many with her. And in doing so, she leaves behind a legacy that echoes far beyond her own lifetime. When you put it all together, you see something extraordinary. A woman with divine grace radiates peace in chaos. She speaks healing words. She forgives what others cannot. She walks in humility without ego. And she uplifts others while standing strong herself. This kind of grace isn't taught in classrooms. It isn't measured in degrees or awards. It's forged in the fires of life, through pain, through growth, through faith. And when you encounter a woman like this, you know it. Because grace is not something you can ignore. It's something that makes the world stop and pay attention. So maybe the real question for us today is this: are we noticing the women of grace around us? And more importantly, are we willing to learn from them, to carry that same grace in our own lives? Because grace isn't just something women carry. It's something the world desperately needs.